Have you ever felt lost in the chaos of daily life, struggling with stress, anxiety, or a sense of unfulfillment? What if I told you that there's an ancient philosophy that could bring calm, clarity, and peace into your life? What if the answers you've been searching for have been around for thousands of years, waiting for you to discover them? Would you be open to learning how to transform your mind and your life? Imagine waking up each day with a clear, peaceful mind, unshaken by the ups and downs of life. Imagine responding to challenges with calmness and embracing change with grace. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, it's possible, and it all begins with Buddhist teachings. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we dive deep into life-changing lessons that can guide you toward lasting peace and happiness. In today's video, we'll explore how Buddhist wisdom, passed down through centuries, can revolutionize the way you think, feel, and live. But first, a quick request. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So, please, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us, and it keeps this wisdom coming your way. Now, let's get into it. Whether you're facing stress at work, struggles in relationships, or simply feeling like life isn't quite what you want it to be, Buddhist wisdom offers valuable lessons that can change everything. By applying these teachings, you can learn to live with greater clarity, compassion, and balance. It's not about being perfect, it's about progress, and we'll walk you through the steps. Ready to start this journey? Let's dive in and explore the power of Buddhist wisdom together. The Four Noble Truths, a path to inner peace. In the busy whirlwind of life, we often find ourselves trapped in cycles of stress, frustration, and dissatisfaction. But what if we could step off that endless treadmill? What if we could find the way to true peace and happiness, not by changing the world around us, but by changing the way we see and respond to the world? This is where the Four Noble Truths come into play. The Four Noble Truths are the very foundation of Buddhism. They are simple, yet powerful insights into the nature of life, suffering, and how we can find true peace. These truths were taught by Buddha after he achieved enlightenment, and they have guided millions of people for over 2 millennia. Let's begin with the first truth, the truth of suffering, dukkha. At first glance, this may seem like a negative way to start, but stay with me. This truth is not about wallowing in misery. It's about acknowledging the reality that life, as we experience it, is filled with moments of pain and dissatisfaction. You may not always realize it, but suffering is present in many aspects of your life. Stress at work, worries about the future, pain from past experiences, or simply the fleeting nature of pleasure. This truth teaches us that suffering is a part of being human. It's not something to avoid or ignore, but something to understand and accept. But here's the good news. The second truth shows us why this suffering exists. This is the truth of the cause of suffering, samudaya. Buddha tells us that the root of all suffering lies in our desires, cravings, and attachments. When we cling to things, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or even ideas about how life should be, we set ourselves up for pain. Why? Because everything in life is constantly changing. People change, situations change, and even our feelings change. When we resist this truth and try to hold on to what is fleeting, we invite suffering into our lives. The more we desire and attach ourselves to things, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment when those things inevitably change or disappear. So, what's the solution? This is where the third truth comes in, the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha. Buddha teaches that it is possible to end this cycle of suffering. By letting go of our cravings and attachments, we can find freedom and peace. It's not about suppressing our desires or denying ourselves joy. It's about understanding the impermanent nature of all things. When we stop clinging to things, we can begin to experience life as it is, without the burden of constant longing or fear of loss. In this state of mind, we find a deep sense of contentment and peace, unaffected by the ups and downs of life. Now, you might wonder, how do we achieve this freedom? How do we let go of our attachments and desires? This is where the fourth noble truth comes in, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering, magga. Buddha offers us a practical, actionable guide to overcoming suffering, called the Eightfold Path. This path is not a set of beliefs or rituals. It's a way of living. It is a guide to transforming your mind and actions so you can cultivate wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Let's break it down. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 practices grouped into 3 categories: wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. Right understanding, or right view, this is the first step on the path, and it's all about understanding the Four Noble Truths. It's about seeing the world clearly and understanding that suffering is a part of life, that it has a cause, and that it can be overcome. It also means recognizing that life is impermanent and ever-changing. Right intention. This is about setting your intentions in the right direction. It's about wanting to reduce suffering, both for yourself and others. It's about cultivating compassion, kindness, and a genuine desire for liberation from suffering. Right speech. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and without causing harm. It's about avoiding gossip, lies, and harsh words, and instead using your words to create harmony and understanding in the world. Right action. This refers to acting in ways that are ethical and beneficial, avoiding harm to others. It's about living a life of integrity and making choices that contribute to the well-being of yourself and others. Right livelihood. This is about choosing a profession or way of life that doesn't cause harm to others or to the environment. It means making choices that are ethical and contribute to the welfare of society. Right effort. Right effort involves cultivating positive states of mind and eliminating negative ones. It's about putting in the effort to develop virtues like compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom, while working to reduce greed, hatred, and ignorance. Right mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without distraction or judgment. Right mindfulness means paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, and actions with awareness, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Right concentration. This refers to developing deep mental focus, often through meditation. Right concentration helps you develop a calm, clear mind, which is essential for cultivating wisdom and overcoming suffering. By following the Eightfold Path, you can begin to break free from the cycles of desire and suffering. You can learn to live with greater peace, understanding, and compassion, not only for others but for yourself as well. It's a path of gradual transformation, where each step brings you closer to a life of balance and inner peace. But the most important lesson in all of this is that the path to freedom from suffering begins with awareness. The Four Noble Truths are not just intellectual concepts, they are a way of seeing the world. When you truly understand these truths, you can begin to shift the way you approach life. You'll stop fighting against the natural flow of life and instead begin to live in harmony with it. And as you do, you'll find that the suffering you once experienced begins to fade, replaced by a sense of calm, contentment, and peace. So, take a moment and reflect. How much of your stress and frustration comes from clinging to things that are beyond your control? What would it be like to let go of those attachments and find freedom in simply being? The Four Noble Truths offer you a way out of the suffering you may feel, and they show you that true peace is not something you need to find outside yourself. It's something you can cultivate within. As we continue this journey, we'll dive deeper into how the Eightfold Path can guide you toward lasting change. But for now, just remember, the path to peace begins with understanding and letting go. The Four Noble Truths offer you the keys to that transformation. The Eightfold Path, a practical guide to enlightened living. Imagine for a moment you are traveling along a road. This road is not ordinary. It is a path to a better, more peaceful life. Along this path, there are 8 steps, each guiding you toward understanding, compassion, and wisdom. This is the Eightfold Path, a core teaching in Buddhism that shows us how to live with intention and mindfulness. The Eightfold Path isn't just a set of instructions, it's a way of life. It helps us to break free from suffering, find inner peace, and live harmoniously with others. But, just like any path, it requires effort, practice, and patience. You might not reach the destination overnight, but with each step, you'll move closer to a life filled with meaning and clarity. The first step on the Eightfold Path is right view. This is about understanding the world as it truly is. Right view invites you to see beyond the surface, beyond the distractions of daily life, and understand the deeper truths of existence. It's realizing that everything is interconnected and that our thoughts and actions have consequences. By seeing the world with clear eyes, we begin to understand that suffering is a part of life, but it's also something we can overcome. The second step is right intention. It's one thing to see the truth, but it's another to act on it. Right intention is about cultivating the right kind of thoughts, desires, and intentions. It's about choosing kindness over anger, patience over frustration, and compassion over judgment. It's the inner decision to walk the path of peace, regardless of the challenges that may come your way. Next is right speech. This step teaches us the power of words. Words have the ability to heal, but they also have the power to hurt. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and in ways that promote understanding and harmony. It means avoiding gossip, lies, or hurtful words. It reminds us that our words can either create peace or stir conflict, and that we are responsible for how we use them. The fourth step is right action. Right action is about living in alignment with your values. It's about making choices that are ethical and compassionate. Whether it's how we treat others, how we take care of the environment, or how we handle our responsibilities, right action urges us to act in ways that bring benefit to ourselves and to those around us. It's the understanding that our actions create the world we live in, and we must act with integrity. The fifth step is right livelihood. Right livelihood encourages us to choose a way of living that is not harmful to others. It means making a living in a way that supports our values, our peace of mind, and the well-being of the community. Whether you're a teacher, a doctor, an artist, or an entrepreneur, right livelihood asks you to consider how your work affects the world and if it is in line with your higher purpose. The sixth step is right effort. Right effort is the energy you put into living a meaningful life. It's about trying your best without being attached to perfection. It means striving to develop positive qualities like kindness, mindfulness, and patience, while also working to reduce negative qualities such as anger, greed, and ignorance. Right effort isn't about pushing yourself too hard or burning out. It's about consistent, mindful effort that leads to growth over time. The seventh step is right mindfulness. Right mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in each moment, to be aware of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's about living consciously rather than reacting on autopilot. When you practice right mindfulness, you stop and take a breath before reacting. You observe the present moment without judgment, which allows you to respond with clarity and wisdom. In a world full of distractions, this step helps us to remain focused on what truly matters. The eighth and final step is right concentration. This step is about developing deep focus and mental clarity. Right concentration encourages you to meditate and cultivate a calm, steady mind. Through meditation, you can train your mind to remain undisturbed by the noise of the world. This clarity allows you to make wise decisions, act with compassion, and navigate the challenges of life with a peaceful heart. Now, you might be thinking, 8 steps? That's a lot to take in. But don't worry. The Eightfold Path isn't something you need to master all at once. It's a gradual process of self-improvement. Think of it as a journey where each step you take brings you closer to inner peace and true happiness. And the beautiful thing is, these steps are not meant to be followed in isolation. They work together, supporting and reinforcing one another. The path begins with right view, the understanding of life's truths, and it ends with right concentration, which brings peace and focus. Along the way, you learn to align your intentions, speech, actions, and livelihood with your deeper values. With each step, you create a life that is more mindful, compassionate, and harmonious. It's important to remember that the Eightfold Path is not about achieving perfection. It's about progress. It's about making conscious choices every day that lead to a better, more peaceful life. No one is perfect, but each step taken on this path helps you get closer to living a life that is aligned with your deepest values and desires. So, where do you start? Begin with one step. Perhaps right view resonates with you, seeing the world with clearer eyes and understanding the deeper truths of existence. Or maybe you feel drawn to right speech, focusing on how your words can create peace. Whatever it may be, take that first step and trust that each step you take will bring you closer to a life of peace, happiness, and wisdom. The Eightfold Path is not just for monks or spiritual seekers. It's for anyone who is looking to live a more meaningful life. It's a path for everyone. Whether you're young or old, busy or calm, the Eightfold Path can guide you toward a life of balance, clarity, and purpose. As you begin to walk this path, remember, it's not about perfection. It's about making small changes, one step at a time. And each change, no matter how small, will bring you closer to the person you are meant to be. With patience, practice, and perseverance, the Eightfold Path can help you live a life of wisdom, peace, and happiness. Mindfulness, living fully in the present moment. Imagine this. You're sitting in a room, but your mind is somewhere else. You're thinking about something that happened yesterday or worrying about what might happen tomorrow. The room is quiet, yet your mind is anything but. How often does this happen to you? You're physically present, but mentally you're lost in the past or the future. This is where mindfulness comes in, a simple yet powerful way to bring your attention back to the present moment. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware of what's happening right now. It's not about thinking of something else while pretending to be in the present. It's about being truly connected to the present experience, whether it's a conversation, the sensation of breathing, or the feeling of the ground beneath your feet. It's the art of paying attention, on purpose, to the here and now, without judgment. Buddhism teaches that mindfulness is essential for living a peaceful and fulfilling life. It's the key to unlocking clarity and reducing the mental clutter that often holds us back. Think about it. How many times have you felt overwhelmed by your thoughts? How many times has your mind raced through a dozen different worries, leaving you unable to focus on what's right in front of you? Mindfulness helps you break free from this cycle. The Buddha himself taught that the mind is often like a wild monkey, jumping from thought to thought, never staying in one place for long. Our minds are restless, distracted, and often caught up in things that either don't matter or are out of our control. This constant state of mental chaos can lead to stress, anxiety, and unhappiness. But through mindfulness, you can tame that wild monkey, bringing your focus back to the present moment. One simple way to practice mindfulness is through meditation. Meditation doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to sit in a special position or chant for hours. All it requires is your full attention. Start by sitting quietly and focusing on your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Every time your mind drifts, gently bring it back to the breath. With practice, this simple act of returning your focus to the present can create powerful shifts in your life. But mindfulness isn't limited to meditation. It's a way of being, an attitude you can bring to every moment. You can practice mindfulness while eating, walking, or even talking to someone. The key is to give your full attention to whatever you're doing, without letting your mind wander. When you eat, really taste the food. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you talk, listen fully to the person you're speaking to, without planning what to say next. This simple awareness makes even ordinary moments feel richer and more meaningful. Mindfulness is also deeply connected to how we experience emotions. Often, we react to situations without thinking, letting emotions like anger, fear, or sadness take control. With mindfulness, you learn to observe your feelings without immediately reacting to them. You can notice when anger arises and, instead of acting on it, simply observe it. I feel angry right now, you might say to yourself. This moment of awareness creates space between the emotion and your response. Instead of being controlled by your emotions, you begin to respond with calmness and clarity. The practice of mindfulness also helps you deal with difficult situations with greater ease. When you're mindful, you're less likely to be overwhelmed by stress or anxiety. Instead of getting lost in negative thoughts or catastrophizing, you can stay present and deal with challenges as they come. Imagine facing a stressful situation, but instead of reacting with fear or worry, you respond with a calm, focused mind. This is the power of mindfulness. Let's think about how mindfulness can improve your relationships. How many times have you been in a conversation, but instead of really listening to the person, you were thinking about something else? Maybe you were planning your response or distracted by your phone. This disconnect can create misunderstandings and distance. By practicing mindfulness in your interactions, you become a better listener and communicator. You're fully present with the other person, which helps build deeper, more meaningful connections. Mindfulness is also a tool for healing. If you're dealing with pain, whether physical or emotional, mindfulness can help you manage it. Instead of resisting the pain or trying to escape it, mindfulness invites you to be with it, to experience it fully. It might sound strange, but by observing pain without judgment, you can often reduce its intensity. This is especially true for emotional pain. When you're mindful of your feelings, you're less likely to become overwhelmed by them. You can simply acknowledge them, and in doing so, they lose some of their power over you. The power of mindfulness is in its simplicity. It doesn't require special skills or knowledge, just a willingness to pay attention. And the benefits of this practice are profound. As you cultivate mindfulness, you'll notice that your mind becomes clearer, your emotions become more manageable, and your relationships improve. You'll feel less stressed and more at peace with the world around you. One of the most beautiful aspects of mindfulness is that it's always available to you. You don't need to set aside hours of your day to practice it. You can practice mindfulness anytime, anywhere. Whether you're sitting at your desk, walking in the park, or simply enjoying a cup of tea, you can bring your attention fully to the present moment. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to stay present in your daily life. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often referred to as right mindfulness, one of the aspects of the Eightfold Path. It's considered a foundational practice for leading a life of wisdom and compassion. Through mindfulness, you begin to see the world more clearly, without the distortions created by your thoughts and emotions. You start to understand the nature of your own mind, and in doing so, you develop greater wisdom. Mindfulness also leads to deeper contentment. When you're present with your life as it is, you stop longing for something different. You stop wishing for things to be better or different. You learn to appreciate the present moment and find joy in simple things. Whether it's the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing, or the feeling of your breath, mindfulness helps you find beauty in every moment. The practice of mindfulness is a lifelong journey, and it doesn't happen overnight. At first, it can be difficult to stay present. Your mind will wander, and you'll forget to be mindful. But with patience and practice, you'll start to notice the changes. Your mind will become calmer, your emotions more stable, and your life more peaceful. The more you practice, the more natural mindfulness will become, and the more deeply you'll experience the richness of life. In conclusion, mindfulness is not just a practice, it's a way of living. It's about being fully present in every moment, embracing life as it is, and letting go of the distractions and worries that often hold us back. By practicing mindfulness, you create space for clarity, peace, and joy. It's a powerful tool that can transform your life, bringing you closer to the wisdom and peace that are always available in the present moment. So, take a deep breath and remember, the present is all you really have. Live fully in it. Compassion, cultivating a heart of kindness. In a world filled with distractions, anger, and judgment, it's easy to forget the simple but profound power of compassion. Yet, compassion is at the very core of Buddhist teachings. It is the practice of feeling for others, understanding their pain, and wishing them well, without expecting anything in return. Imagine if we all lived with more compassion. What kind of world would that be? Compassion isn't just about feeling sympathy for someone else's suffering. It's a deeper connection, a recognition that we all share in the experience of life. We all face challenges, we all experience pain, and we all seek happiness. When we open our hearts to the suffering of others, we begin to soften the walls we've built around ourselves and create a space for genuine connection. Buddhism teaches that true compassion goes beyond just feeling sorry for someone. It's about actively wishing for their well-being. Compassion is not only for others, but for ourselves too. It's easy to criticize ourselves for every mistake or shortcoming. But Buddhism reminds us that we are human, and to treat ourselves with compassion is just as important as extending it to others. When we are kind to ourselves, we can better offer kindness to those around us. One way to develop compassion is through mindfulness. By simply paying attention to the present moment, without judgment, we can become more attuned to the needs of others. We can listen to them with an open heart, offer a hand when they're struggling, or simply be there when they need support. Compassion doesn't always have to come in grand gestures. It can be as simple as a smile, a kind word, or a moment of understanding. Have you ever noticed how good it feels when someone truly listens to you? When you can sense that they're present with you, without distractions or judgment. That's the power of compassion. When we listen to others with genuine empathy, we make them feel seen, heard, and valued. Compassion allows us to connect with others on a deeper level, breaking through the barriers that separate us. But why is compassion so important, and why does Buddhism emphasize it so much? The reason is simple. Suffering is a part of life. Everyone goes through tough times, whether it's personal struggles, emotional pain, or external challenges. But when we show compassion to others, we not only help them feel supported, we also begin to transform our own hearts. We develop patience, understanding, and love. The more we practice compassion, the more we realize that we are all interconnected. Our well-being is tied to the well-being of others, and when we help others find peace, we find peace too. Let's consider a simple example. Think about a time when you felt really down, maybe after a difficult day or when you were going through a rough patch. What helped you feel better? Was it someone offering a kind word, a hug, or simply being there for you? That small act of compassion may have been the spark that helped you find comfort. Now, think about how many people around you might be experiencing their own struggles. If we can take just a moment to offer a little kindness, we can create a ripple effect that spreads throughout the world. Small acts of compassion can have an enormous impact, not only on the person receiving them, but also on ourselves. In Buddhism, there's a concept known as metta, which is often translated as loving kindness. It is the practice of extending warm, loving thoughts to others, especially those we may not know or may not always agree with. Practicing metta means wishing for others to be happy, healthy, and at peace. It's an act of pure selflessness, and when we practice it, we let go of the need for recognition or reward. We simply wish the best for others because it's the right thing to do. Now, let's dive into a deeper aspect of compassion. It's not always easy to show compassion, especially toward those who have hurt us or caused us pain. Our natural instinct might be to hold on to anger, resentment, or even revenge. But Buddhism teaches us that holding on to these negative emotions only causes more suffering, not just for the person we're angry with, but for ourselves as well. When we carry the burden of anger or hatred, we allow those emotions to control us, shaping our thoughts and actions in destructive ways. To truly practice compassion, we must learn to forgive, not just others but ourselves too. Forgiveness doesn't mean we forget or excuse the wrongdoings that have been done to us. It means we release the grip that anger and resentment have over our lives, freeing ourselves from their power. Forgiveness opens up space for healing, and in that space, compassion can grow. It's important to remember that compassion doesn't mean we let people walk all over us or tolerate harmful behavior. True compassion includes setting boundaries and standing up for what's right. It's about recognizing the humanity in others, even when their actions don't align with our values. We don't have to agree with everyone, but we can still treat them with respect and understanding. One powerful way to practice compassion is through meditation. There's a meditation practice in Buddhism called metta bhavana, which focuses on cultivating loving kindness toward oneself and others. In this practice, we repeat phrases like, "May you be happy," "May you be healthy," "May you be at ease." These simple words can transform the way we see others, allowing us to view them through the lens of love and compassion instead of judgment or anger. When we practice compassion, we also develop a sense of patience and acceptance. Instead of rushing to fix problems or offer solutions, we learn to sit with others in their pain. Sometimes, the greatest act of compassion is simply to be present. When we allow ourselves to be fully present with others, we acknowledge their humanity and validate their feelings. We give them the space to heal, knowing that sometimes just being there is enough. At its core, compassion is about connection. It's about seeing the suffering of others and choosing to act with kindness. It's about understanding that no one is immune to life's challenges and that we all need help sometimes. By cultivating compassion, we not only make the world a better place, but we also begin to transform ourselves. We become more patient, more loving, and more understanding. So, how can you begin practicing compassion in your own life? Start small. Offer a smile to a stranger, lend a hand to a friend in need, or simply listen without judgment. Practice self-compassion by treating yourself with kindness and forgiveness. The more you practice compassion, the more natural it will become, and the more you will see its positive impact on your life and the lives of those around you. Compassion is not just a feeling, it's a way of living. It's a practice that can change the world, one small act at a time. So, let's make the choice today to live with more kindness, understanding, and love. The world needs it, and so do we. The law of impermanence, embracing change. Life is constantly changing, isn't it? One moment, everything feels stable, and the next, it all seems to shift without warning. The people around us change, our circumstances change, even our own thoughts and feelings are never the same from one moment to the next. Change can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even frightening, but what if you learn to embrace it rather than resist it? This is the teaching of impermanence, an essential concept in Buddhism that can help you navigate life with grace and peace. The idea is simple. Everything in life is temporary. Whether it's joy, pain, success, or failure, everything eventually changes. Accepting this truth can transform the way you view your struggles and your joys. We all go through difficult times. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the stress of a job change, these moments can feel overwhelming. But here's the thing. Everything, even pain, is temporary. When we understand that no feeling, no situation, no moment will last forever, it becomes easier to face tough times. The pain of today is not permanent. The anger or frustration you feel now will eventually pass. And the happiness you experience today will not last forever either. This is the truth of impermanence. Let's take a simple example to understand this better. Imagine you're sitting outside on a sunny afternoon, enjoying the warmth of the sun on your skin. Everything feels perfect. But then, a cloud drifts in, covering the sun and casting a shadow over you. The warmth fades, and the air feels cooler. You might feel disappointed, but if you look closely, you'll see that the cloud is moving. It's not there to stay, and soon, the sun will shine through again. Just like the weather, our lives are full of shifts. Good times and bad times come and go. This understanding of impermanence helps us live with more peace and less fear. When we stop trying to hold on to everything, when we let go of our desire to make things permanent, we start to find a deeper sense of freedom. Because nothing in life is permanent, we learn to appreciate the beauty in each moment, knowing that it won't last forever. And this makes us more mindful, more present, and more able to live with ease. Impermanence is also key when it comes to relationships. Whether it's family, friends, or romantic connections, every relationship goes through ups and downs. Sometimes, people we care about may change or even leave our lives. This can cause feelings of sadness or loss, but understanding that nothing is permanent allows us to cherish the moments we have with others. We begin to appreciate what we have now, without clinging to it or fearing its end. When we live in this way, we can love more freely, without attachment or expectation. In addition, impermanence teaches us not to get too attached to success or failure. Whether you're experiencing a period of great achievement or struggling with setbacks, remember, this moment is not permanent. Both success and failure are part of life's flow. When we understand this, we stop defining ourselves by our accomplishments or our mistakes. We become free from the constant need to succeed or avoid failure, and instead, we learn to embrace whatever comes our way with a calm, balanced mind. Buddhism teaches that one of the keys to happiness is to accept impermanence and to live with it, not against it. When we fight against change, when we try to hold on to things that are meant to change, we suffer. But when we learn to flow with life's changes, to accept that everything is temporary, we start to experience more peace and joy. We stop fearing the future, because we know that whatever comes, it, too, will pass. Think about the changing seasons. Each season has its own beauty. Winter brings stillness and quiet, while spring brings renewal and growth. Summer brings warmth and abundance, and fall brings harvest and reflection. No season lasts forever, but each season has its own unique value. Similarly, our lives go through seasons of joy, sadness, growth, and change. When we accept that life moves in seasons, we can learn to enjoy each phase without holding on to it too tightly. We can appreciate the beauty of the moment without being afraid of what comes next. This doesn't mean we should become passive or indifferent. It's not about simply letting life happen to us without any effort. Instead, it's about responding to life with awareness, kindness, and openness. Impermanence doesn't mean we stop caring about the things and people we love. It means we learn to love them without attachment, without the need to make them permanent. We cherish the time we have, and we accept that everything changes. In practice, embracing impermanence can help us become more resilient. When we accept that nothing is permanent, we stop overreacting to temporary difficulties. We can see them as passing moments, just like the clouds in the sky. And when things are going well, we can enjoy the good times without fear of them ending, because we understand that this is simply the nature of life. Life is full of beginnings and endings, but every beginning holds the potential for growth, and every ending makes space for something new. If you find yourself struggling with change, or if you're holding on to something you know isn't good for you, remember the law of impermanence. Whether you're dealing with a loss, a change, or a fear of the unknown, remember, this too shall pass. In time, everything will shift. And when you embrace change, rather than resist it, you can find peace in the midst of uncertainty. Buddhism teaches that accepting impermanence is a key step in freeing ourselves from suffering. When we stop trying to control everything, when we let go of our attachment to permanence, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of wanting and fearing. We start to live with more acceptance, more peace, and more joy, knowing that whatever happens, we can handle it. So, the next time you find yourself resisting change, take a deep breath. Remember that everything is temporary. Whatever challenge you face, it will pass. Whatever joy you're experiencing, it, too, will eventually fade. But in the meantime, you can find beauty in each moment. You can find peace in the flow of life. Because, as Buddhism teaches us, life is not about holding on. It's about letting go and embracing the present, knowing that everything is in a constant state of change. By understanding and accepting impermanence, you can live more freely, more fully, and with a deeper sense of peace. So, the next time life feels uncertain or overwhelming, remember, change is not something to fear. It's a natural part of the journey. Embrace it, and you'll find that life is much more manageable when you go with the flow. Karma, understanding cause and effect in life. Imagine this. You're walking down a path, and every step you take leaves a footprint behind. Some footprints are deep and noticeable, while others are light and almost invisible. But regardless of their size, every step matters. In the same way, every action you take in life, whether big or small, leaves a mark on the world around you. This is what we call karma. Karma is one of the most powerful and misunderstood concepts in Buddhism. Often, people think of karma as a simple idea of good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. But it's far deeper than that. Karma is about cause and effect. Every action you take, every word you speak, and even every thought you think creates an impact. These effects can ripple through your life and through the lives of those around you, sometimes in ways you never imagined. But here's the thing. Karma isn't about punishment or reward. It's not a system of judgment where you are paid back for your actions. It's simply the natural law of cause and effect. Think of it like planting seeds in a garden. If you plant seeds of kindness, understanding, and compassion, the fruits of those seeds will be positive and nourishing. If you plant seeds of anger, hatred, or selfishness, the fruits will be difficult and painful to bear. It's the natural flow of life. Now, you might ask, but how does karma work in the real world? Well, let's look at it through a few simple examples. Let's say you're having a tough day and you snap at a friend, even though they didn't do anything wrong. You might feel guilty afterward, but in that moment, you let your emotions take over. That snap might not seem like a big deal, but it creates a ripple. Your friend feels hurt, and maybe they react with hurtful words of their own. Suddenly, a small disagreement grows into a bigger issue. In this case, the cause was your angry words, and the effect was the damage it caused in your friendship. But here's the beauty of karma. It works in both directions. Just as negative actions can lead to more negativity, positive actions create positive ripples. Let's say you go out of your way to help a stranger, whether it's holding the door open, offering a smile, or helping them with a task. You might not see an immediate return, but you've planted a seed of kindness in the world. That kindness may come back to you in unexpected ways. Maybe your friend does something kind for you later on, or perhaps you experience a feeling of inner joy that comes from knowing you did something good. Karma also teaches us that we are not victims of circumstance. We are the creators of our own reality. This doesn't mean that everything that happens to us is a direct result of our own actions, but it does mean that how we respond to life's challenges is influenced by our past actions. If we approach life with a mindset of kindness and positivity, we are more likely to attract situations that reflect those qualities. On the other hand, if we approach life with negativity, resentment, or greed, we are more likely to encounter challenges that reflect those emotions. Think of karma as a mirror. What you put into the world, you get back. If you are constantly angry, jealous, or bitter, your life will reflect that energy. But if you focus on love, compassion, and understanding, the world around you starts to shift. You might find that people become kinder, situations become more manageable, and you feel more at peace within yourself. But it's important to understand that karma isn't always immediate. It's not like pressing a button and instantly receiving a result. Sometimes the effects of our actions unfold over time. You might do something kind today, and it could take months or even years for that kindness to return in a way you can recognize. Similarly, if you do something harmful, it may take time before the effects show up in your life. This delayed response is what makes karma a powerful teacher. It teaches patience and understanding. One of the most powerful aspects of karma is that it can be changed. No matter where you are in life, no matter what actions you've taken in the past, you have the power to create new karma starting right now. If you've made mistakes, harmed others, or acted out of anger or fear, you don't have to be defined by those actions forever. You can change the course of your life by consciously choosing to act with love, compassion, and mindfulness in every moment moving forward. This is where the idea of personal responsibility comes into play. Karma reminds us that we are in control of our actions and our choices. If you want to experience more peace, joy, and love in your life, you must actively choose to create those things through your actions. If you want to move away from suffering, you need to start making choices that lead to healing and growth. Let's also talk about the importance of self-awareness in understanding karma. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that karma only affects others, that it's something that happens out there. But the truth is, karma is deeply personal. Every thought you have, every choice you make, and every action you take is creating your future. If you want to change your life, you need to become aware of your thoughts and actions in the present moment. You need to take responsibility for the energy you put out into the world. One way to begin understanding karma more deeply is through mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, you become aware of the intentions behind your actions. Are you acting out of kindness, or are you acting out of fear, anger, or selfishness? Are you truly present in the moment, or are you reacting from a place of unconscious habit? By becoming more mindful, you can begin to see how your past actions are shaping your present life, and you can make conscious decisions to create positive karma moving forward. Karma also teaches us the importance of forgiveness. Sometimes, we may feel like we've done things that are so wrong that we don't deserve forgiveness. But the truth is, forgiveness is not just about the other person. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of negativity and resentment. When we forgive others and ourselves, we are releasing the karmic bonds that keep us trapped in cycles of suffering. Forgiveness creates space for healing, growth, and positive energy to flow into our lives. So, what can we do today to start creating better karma? Begin by taking small steps toward kindness, patience, and mindfulness. Be conscious of how you speak to others and how you respond to the challenges in your life. Choose to act out of love and understanding, rather than reacting out of fear, anger, or frustration. Over time, these small actions will begin to accumulate, creating a powerful force for positive change in your life and the lives of those around you. Remember, karma is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's not about never making mistakes, but about learning from those mistakes and choosing to do better in the future. Every action, no matter how small, matters. Every moment is an opportunity to create something beautiful. What footprints are you leaving behind today? The middle way, balancing extremes for harmony. In life, we often find ourselves caught between two extremes. One side pulls us toward excess, while the other calls us to deprivation. We chase after more success, more money, more pleasure, believing that these will bring us happiness. On the other hand, we sometimes go to the extreme of rejecting all desires, thinking that true peace comes from renouncing everything. But what if I told you that both of these extremes, too much and too little, can lead us further away from true happiness? The secret to lasting peace and fulfillment lies not in excess or in complete renunciation, but in finding the middle ground. This is the essence of the middle way, a path that guides us to live a balanced and harmonious life. The concept of the middle way is central to Buddhism. It was the path that the Buddha discovered after years of living in both extremes. In his early life, he was born into luxury as a prince, but this luxury didn't bring him happiness. So, he left his palace and became an ascetic, rejecting all comforts, food, and pleasure. But even in this extreme, he found no peace. Finally, he realized that true freedom and happiness could not be found in either indulgence or self-denial. Instead, he discovered the middle way, a path of moderation and balance. What does the middle way really mean for us in today's world? It means finding a balance between our desires and our spiritual needs. It's not about rejecting the good things in life, but enjoying them without becoming attached. The middle way teaches us to live without being driven by the constant desire for more. It shows us that true peace comes from finding contentment in the present moment and appreciating life as it is, rather than endlessly seeking something outside of ourselves to fill an empty space. One way to understand this is by looking at a musical instrument, like a guitar. If the strings are too loose, they won't produce any sound. If they're too tight, they'll snap. But when they're tuned just right, the guitar produces beautiful music. In life, we need to find that perfect balance. Too much tension, whether it's in work, relationships, or possessions, will only break us. Too little effort, and life becomes dull and unfulfilling. The middle way helps us find that sweet spot where life feels harmonious and full of purpose. The middle way is also about avoiding the traps of attachment and aversion. Often, we hold on to things that we think will bring us happiness, whether it's a job, a relationship, or material possessions. But attachment to these things can cause suffering because they're all impermanent. Things change, and when we cling to them, we suffer when they slip away. On the flip side, we may have strong aversions, things we dislike or fear. But trying to avoid these things entirely is just another extreme. Instead of attaching to what we like and avoiding what we dislike, the middle way teaches us to approach life with an open heart, accepting whatever comes our way with grace. Let's talk about how this balance plays out in our day-to-day lives. For example, in our work or careers, we may find ourselves caught up in the need to achieve more, to climb the ladder, to gain recognition. But this pursuit of success can lead to burnout, stress, and dissatisfaction. On the other hand, if we completely reject ambition and choose a life of minimal effort, we may feel a lack of fulfillment. The middle way asks us to find a balance, pursuing meaningful work and goals, but without letting them define our worth or our happiness. We can strive for excellence, but we don't have to sacrifice our well-being or our relationships along the way. The same principle applies to our relationships. Many of us swing between two extremes in how we approach others. On one side, we may become overly attached to people, constantly seeking validation or approval. We may be afraid of being alone or rejected, so we compromise our true selves to keep others happy. On the other hand, we may completely shut ourselves off from others, avoiding vulnerability and intimacy. The middle way teaches us to be present with others, to love and care without attachment or fear. We can have close, meaningful relationships without losing ourselves in them. Even in our daily habits, the middle way offers wisdom. Take food, for example. If we overindulge, we harm our bodies and create unnecessary stress. But if we completely deprive ourselves, we may feel weak, irritable, or deprived. The middle way encourages us to eat in moderation, enjoying food without overdoing it, nourishing our bodies without letting food control us. This principle can apply to all areas of life: exercise, leisure, sleep, and even technology. The key is moderation, finding that sweet spot where we care for ourselves without falling into the extremes of excess or deprivation. Now, let's look at the role of mindfulness in the middle way. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. It's about observing our thoughts, feelings, and actions without getting swept away by them. When we practice mindfulness, we can see the extremes in our behavior more clearly. We may notice that we tend to overwork or overindulge, or we may see how we avoid certain feelings or situations. With mindfulness, we can bring ourselves back to balance. We can pause, take a breath, and choose to respond with wisdom rather than react from habit or impulse. In the middle way, there's no need for self-punishment or harsh discipline. Instead of denying ourselves pleasures or imposing strict rules, we are encouraged to live with a sense of wisdom and awareness. It's about living with intention, understanding our desires and impulses, and choosing to respond with moderation. The middle way isn't about making life harder. It's about making it simpler, more peaceful, and more fulfilling. One of the greatest gifts of the middle way is the freedom it brings. When we are caught in extremes, whether in our thoughts, actions, or desires, we become trapped. We are constantly striving for something outside ourselves, believing that happiness lies just beyond our reach. But when we walk the path of the middle way, we find that happiness isn't something we have to chase. It's something we can experience right here and now, in the balance of our lives. Ultimately, the middle way leads to liberation. It helps us break free from the cycles of craving and aversion, attachment and resistance. By living with balance, we create space for peace, contentment, and wisdom to arise naturally. We no longer need to push ourselves to the extremes, because we have found a way to live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. And this harmony is the key to lasting happiness. As we move through life, the middle way reminds us that we are never stuck in one place. There is always room for growth, for balance, and for peace. Every moment is an opportunity to find our center, to let go of the extremes, and to walk with a clear mind and an open heart. The middle way doesn't require perfection. It requires only that we take one step at a time, with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. So, as you move forward in your life, remember this. The path to true happiness doesn't lie in seeking more or rejecting everything. It lies in finding the balance in between. The middle way is the way of harmony, simplicity, and peace. And by walking this path, you will discover the greatest treasure of all, inner peace and lasting contentment. Samsara and nirvana, transcending the cycle of suffering. Have you ever wondered why life feels like a constant loop of struggles and fleeting joys? Why we repeat the same patterns, chasing happiness only to find it slipping through our fingers? This endless cycle is something Buddhism calls samsara. But what if there was a way out? A way to rise above this cycle and experience lasting peace? That's where nirvana comes in, the ultimate liberation from suffering. Samsara is often described as the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, but it's much more than a literal concept. It represents the patterns of craving, attachment, and ignorance that keep us trapped in dissatisfaction. Think about your daily life. You might want a promotion at work, a bigger house, or someone's approval. You get what you want, and for a moment, you feel happy. But soon, that happiness fades, and you start wanting something else. This constant craving is the wheel of samsara turning in your mind. The Buddha taught that samsara isn't a punishment. It's simply the natural result of how our minds operate. Our desires and aversions create a kind of inner turbulence, much like a stormy ocean. The more we cling to things or push them away, the more we fuel this storm. So, what is nirvana? In simple terms, it's the end of the storm. It's a state of complete freedom from craving, attachment, and ignorance. Imagine a calm, still ocean with no waves, a place where nothing can disturb your peace. Nirvana is not a physical place. It's a transformation of your mind, a realization that you no longer need to cling to anything for happiness. How do we move from samsara to nirvana? The path is rooted in awareness and understanding. The first step is recognizing the patterns that keep us stuck. For example, when you feel angry or frustrated, pause and ask yourself, what am I holding on to? What expectation or desire is causing this suffering? Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. Once you see clearly, you can start to let go. The next step is practicing detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or give up on life. It means you stop depending on external things for your inner peace. Let's say you lose your job or face rejection. Instead of spiraling into despair, you accept it as part of life's impermanence. You realize that your true worth doesn't depend on these external events. Meditation is another powerful tool for breaking free from samsara. When you meditate, you learn to observe your thoughts and emotions without being carried away by them. You realize that your mind creates much of your suffering through its endless chatter and judgments. By practicing mindfulness, you begin to step back and see things as they are, not as your mind interprets them. Compassion also plays a crucial role in this journey. When you cultivate compassion, you shift your focus from yourself to others. This reduces your attachment to ego and helps you see the interconnectedness of all beings. When you stop seeing others as separate from you, the walls of samsara start to crumble. Of course, the journey isn't easy. You might still feel anger, fear, or jealousy. But the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you choose to respond with kindness instead of anger, every time you let go of a craving, you take a step closer to nirvana. Think about it this way. Samsara is like a tangled knot, and each moment of mindfulness or compassion is a thread you untie. With patience and persistence, the knot loosens, and you start to feel lighter. Nirvana isn't something you achieve overnight. It's a gradual awakening, a shift in how you experience the world. Even small changes in perspective can make a big difference. For example, instead of seeing challenges as problems, see them as opportunities to grow. Instead of clinging to happiness, embrace the ebb and flow of life with grace. These small shifts bring you closer to the freedom of nirvana. The beauty of this path is that it's not exclusive to monks or spiritual masters. Anyone, regardless of their background or beliefs, can take steps toward liberation. You don't need to live in a monastery or give up your daily life. All you need is the willingness to look inward and make small changes, one moment at a time. Samsara and nirvana might sound like abstract concepts, but they're deeply relevant to your everyday life. Every time you choose to let go of resentment, every time you face a challenge with acceptance, you're moving closer to nirvana. It's not about escaping the world. It's about transforming how you experience it. Imagine a life where you're no longer pulled in every direction by desires and fears. A life where you can face loss with equanimity and experience joy without clinging to it. This is the promise of nirvana. Not an escape, but a profound liberation that allows you to live fully and freely. The journey from samsara to nirvana is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. It's not about changing the world around you. It's about changing the world within you. When you let go of the illusions that keep you trapped, you discover a peace that nothing can take away. This is the ultimate freedom, the liberation that the Buddha taught, and it's available to anyone willing to take the first step. Are you ready to step off the wheel of samsara and experience the freedom of nirvana? The journey begins with a single moment of awareness, and that moment can be now. Conclusion: embracing Buddhist teachings for a transformed life. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a deep breath and reflect on everything we've learned. Over the past lessons, we've explored the timeless wisdom of Buddhism, how its teachings offer profound insights into living a peaceful, fulfilled, and meaningful life. Now, the real question is, will you carry these lessons forward into your life? Will you embrace them, not just as ideas, but as practices that can change your day-to-day experience? The beauty of Buddhism is that it's not about following strict rules or living in a monastery. It's about finding ways to live more consciously, to be more present, and to cultivate a heart that's open and compassionate. The teachings are simple yet powerful, and anyone, no matter their background, can integrate them into their life. So, let's take a moment to reflect on the core lessons we've learned and how they can shape our future. The Four Noble Truths gave us a clear understanding of life struggles. It helped us realize that suffering is a part of life, but it doesn't have to define us. We learned that the cause of suffering is often our attachment to things that are temporary, and how we can let go of that attachment to find peace. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is not something to be feared, but something to understand and overcome. By recognizing the root causes of our pain, we can free ourselves from its hold. The Eightfold Path showed us how to live in harmony with ourselves and others. It's a path that guides us toward wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It's a practical guide for everyday living. Every step on this path offers a way to transform how we act, speak, and think. It helps us build right relationships, develop a mind that's clear and compassionate, and live a life of integrity. When we follow this path, we're not just improving ourselves, we're contributing to the well-being of the world around us. Mindfulness, a key part of Buddhist practice, encourages us to be present in every moment. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, mindfulness helps us focus on what's happening right now. It teaches us to pay attention to our thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment. Through mindfulness, we learn to be more aware of our surroundings and our inner state. It allows us to live in the present, rather than being stuck in the past or worrying about the future. Mindfulness is a tool we can use throughout the day, no matter where we are, to stay grounded and peaceful. Compassion is at the heart of Buddhism. It's about recognizing the shared humanity in all of us and offering kindness and love without expectation. When we cultivate compassion, we soften our hearts and begin to see others not as obstacles or competitors, but as fellow travelers on the same journey. Compassion frees us from anger, judgment, and isolation. It helps us build connections that are genuine and nurturing, creating a world where everyone can thrive. The concept of impermanence reminds us that everything in life is constantly changing. This truth helps us embrace life with greater flexibility. When we understand that nothing lasts forever, we can let go of our fears about loss and change. We start to appreciate the present moment, knowing that it is fleeting. This understanding of impermanence also teaches us not to hold on too tightly to things or people. We learn to appreciate what we have, but also to release it when it's time to move on. Life becomes less about clinging and more about flowing with what comes. Karma, another cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy, teaches us about the interconnectedness of all things. Every action we take, every word we speak, and every thought we have creates a ripple in the universe. Karma shows us that we are responsible for the energy we bring into the world. If we want peace, kindness, and happiness, we must create those things in our own lives first. When we act with good intentions, we invite good into our lives. It's a simple yet profound idea. What we give is what we receive. The middle way offers a balanced approach to life. It's about avoiding extremes, neither indulging in excessive pleasure nor denying ourselves essential needs. It teaches us moderation, the ability to walk a path that is neither too rigid nor too loose. The middle way encourages us to find balance in all areas of life: work, relationships, health, and personal growth. It's about living wisely, without getting lost in excess or deprivation. When we walk the middle way, we create a sense of peace that's rooted in balance. Meditation, a practice deeply rooted in Buddhism, offers us a way to quiet the mind and tap into our inner wisdom. Meditation teaches us to let go of distractions, to become still, and to connect with our deepest selves. It's in meditation that we learn to observe our thoughts without attachment, to understand the nature of our minds, and to cultivate a sense of inner calm. With regular practice, meditation becomes a powerful tool for managing stress, finding clarity, and discovering the peace that resides within. Detachment isn't about rejecting the world or its pleasures. It's about learning not to cling to them. When we detach from outcomes, possessions, and even relationships, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. Detachment helps us to let go of our need for control and allows us to live with greater freedom. We learn to appreciate the beauty of life without becoming obsessed with it. Through detachment, we gain the ability to live more fully, without being weighed down by attachment. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to transcend the cycle of suffering known as samsara and reach the state of nirvana. Samsara represents the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, where suffering is inevitable. Nirvana, on the other hand, is a state of liberation, freedom from all forms of suffering and attachment. While we may not achieve nirvana in this lifetime, the journey toward it is one of profound transformation. Every step we take in the direction of peace, understanding, and compassion brings us closer to this ultimate goal. As we wrap up, remember that Buddhist teachings are not just ancient philosophies, they are living practices. They are meant to be experienced, practiced, and integrated into your life. The wisdom shared here can help you transform your way of thinking, your way of living, and ultimately, your entire experience of the world. It's not about becoming perfect or achieving enlightenment overnight. It's about making small, consistent changes in your daily life. Start with one practice, one step, and gradually see how it transforms your mindset, your relationships, and your happiness. Embrace these teachings with an open heart and allow them to guide you on a journey toward inner peace and fulfillment. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. If you found these teachings helpful, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us continue sharing these valuable lessons with the world. We look forward to seeing you in our next video as we continue to explore more wisdom and insights together. Stay peaceful, stay present, and above all, stay kind.